Hey everyone, Duke Nukem 3D here with another mask from my collection. And I have another mask from the stuff that I got from Moulage recently. This is my Polish MC-1 early variant. I don't know too much about the history of these, and this is, again, a face piece. I don't have the rest of the kit for this. This is going to be kind of a short review, hopefully. But anyways, yeah, I don't know when exactly these were manufactured. I believe these started sometime in the 60s, possibly late 60s. I really don't know for sure, and I don't know when these were obsoleted. I assume sometime in the 80s or 90s. Again, this is just a mask I have little to no information on, just because of it's just one of those really common masks I don't really pay much attention to, and therefore when I actually have one, I am like clueless to actually, talk about it for the most part. But anyways, one thing I don't know is which came first, the Czech CM3 or the Polish MC1, because basically they're the same design. However, most resources I've looked into don't really know for sure, or haven't really explained exactly, or just have contradictory evidence that either the Czech one came first or the Polish one came first, and I really can't decipher which is the logical case in there. So if anyone knows for sure whether the CM3 or the MC1 came first, feel free to let me know in the comments. And these are just a very basic, simple design. These were issued to civilians, if I hadn't already said that. And personally, if I were in a comm block nation, I would want one of these rather than a Schlem Maska SHM62 style mask for various reasons. I personally find these a bit more enjoyable in terms of their overall design than the typical GP5 style mask, but that's just getting into personal opinions, which again this video will mostly be comprised of, considering of the lack of history and information I have on this piece. But anyhow, like I said, very simple design, just your typical inlet outlet valve, standard round lenses, TSO deflectors, nothing fancy, no drinking systems or nasal cup, anything like that. This is, again, the early variant, which is made of a hideous pea green rubber, and the later types would be made out of gray rubber. And the early types also had a rubber head harness, just solid rubber, whereas the later types would have elasticated or possibly fabric, I'm not entirely sure. And the later types are the more common ones, so you don't really see too many of these early ones on the market because it's just dominated with the gray later type, but these can be found here and there, and I don't imagine they're all that rare at all, so nothing special about this in particular. The lenses are your typical Soviet crimped on style with the fabric. However, it's interesting to note that the valve assembly has a metal clamp, which not too many comm block masks do in this fashion, where it's just a metal band that's looped into itself to secure instead of a clamping ring. I know the Czech CM3 also did this, but theirs had a rubber band that went over this clamp to hide it, and kind of an interesting design. But the problem with the rubber bands hiding clamps is they tend to, those are usually the first things to rot away and get broken or lost or something. Another nifty feature about this that I did not mention yet is the fact that this mask is compatible with its own set of optical inserts, which I do not have. I do know of one person who does have one, but I doubt I'll be picking them up. But you can see here the grooves. I'll probably show these off in greater detail in a bit. You can see the grooves on each side of the lens, and those are, in fact, as far as I know, for optical inserts and not some sort of anti-fogging inserts. The outlet valve arrangement is very interesting because it is on the top rather than the bottom. Usually the traditional way you see these sort of masks with the outlet valve and inlet valve combined into one unit is that the outlet valve will be underneath the inlet valve. And these are GOST 40mm, so these will not fit NATO canisters. I've tried. I do believe you can probably use a Chinese normalized hose to attach onto a GOST mask and use NATO canisters, but that's something I'll need to test for myself in the future. So, anyways, like I said, mentioning the rubber harness, it's not the worst design. Usually when you think of rubber harness, your mind immediately jumps to the GP7 PMK style masks and how those will pull your hair to no end. And this one doesn't really do it all that much. Granted, the face piece is a bit difficult to get on, and this thing probably doesn't hold very well. The adjustment system is kind of leaves a lot to be desired, but it's not a bad rubber harness. It's not the best, certainly not by a long shot, but it's not terrible. But anyhow, that's basically the overall review. I'll give you a close-up on the markings here. You have what I believe is a face piece lot of 95. You have a date of possibly 73. I could be mixing these up. I'm just assuming this center one is the date due to this being an early variant as far as I know. And then you have a size 2 stamp right here. And then you have another size 2 stamp on the chin over here. And hopefully my camera picked all that up, which I doubt it will because my lighting is terrible. So I will go ahead and take this off the head and I will show you the interior as best as I can. So just give me a moment here. I will not be putting it back on the head because, as I said, the face piece is a little bit sticky. Well, not sticky, but even it's kind of difficult to get on the head. But anyhow, moving on to the interior here, you can really see there's nothing much to mention. You can see the outlet valve throughout the center there, and the two TISO deflector tubes. You can see the little nose pouch right there, and you can hopefully also see the little grooves for a pair of optical inserts to install in this mask. And really there's nothing else. There's no intern peripheral seal or anything like that. And one last thing to mention is the outlet valve, which is interestingly just a single outlet valve disc. It's not a double outlet valve like most comm block masks seem to do. And the interesting thing is that the cover, which unscrews here, has this plastic mesh behind it. And I'll go ahead and undo that so you can see. So you got the cover there that simply unscrews. Then you have this plastic mesh material, which is not the most quality thing. And then you can see the outlet valve throughout the back there. And it's pretty simple to put all that back together. Just a simple matter of reversing the process you use to take it apart. So, and you cannot access the inlet valve at all because it is completely contained within the TISO deflector system. And you would have to remove this entire assembly to access the inlet valve, so that is a bit unfortunate. But again, this is just a civilian mask that they mass-produced, so I don't imagine they had the most in mind in terms of disassembly. The harness buckles, I really like. I've never mentioned this much before, but I'm a huge fan of harness buckles which attach onto tabs like this because it is just, I can't really explain why. It allows you to disassemble the harness very easily, and just I like when masks allow you to disassemble them completely. Obviously this one can't, but just features like that I really appreciate. But anyhow, that's about it. I really don't have too much else to mention in terms of the design of this mask, and it's unfortunate that I'm missing the rest of the kit, but still, for basically free, not a bad deal at all, and I really like this mask. It's a very neat little thing. So anyhow, before I ramble on any further, I'm Duke Nukem 3D. If you have any comments, questions, corrections, or concerns, drop them in the comments below as always, and I will see you all later.